There's no question that a cancer diagnosis can be a surprising and life-altering event. Specifically for women, breast cancer is a prevalent concern because the biggest risk factor is being a woman. In fact, 1 in every 8 women will be diagnosed in their lifetime. However, early detection has impacted both the rate of survival and the treatment options available to women. And it's because of a small group of doctors that have changed the way breast cancer is detected. Prior to 50 years ago, breast cancers grew so large that it was one of the most precarious health conditions that women have faced.
Well, breast cancer has been around for eons of years, but back in the 60s and 70s, breast cancer was treated with mastectomies. Breast cancers were really diagnosed by clinical examination, so it was a surgical diagnosis. A clinical physician, or if they felt a lump or the patient felt a lump, then they would see a surgeon who felt a lump, would take them to surgery, and they had to sign a paper that if at the time of surgery it was a cancer, that they would remove the breast. So women were afraid because of the mastectomies and the disfigurement from the mastectomy. When I started back in '83, that they would have to remove their breast if at time of surgery. And I told them they didn't have to sign that paper. Wait until they come out of surgery, find out what the pathology result is, and then from that, determine what they want. Because studies were done in the 70s and 80s to determine that if we can find breast cancers early, we don't have to remove the breast. And that's what got me interested in breast cancer screening from the time I was a first-year resident. To find cancers, looking for subtle clues. That's what we want to find, subtle clues of breast cancer. Anybody can see an obvious one on mammography, but it's the subtleties that we want to find. And that was my passion from the very first year of residency.
I had had a child. I was 28 and felt a lump and came in and had the mammogram screening and ultrasound screening, and then ultimately was diagnosed with breast cancer. I didn't have time to be afraid. Don't get me wrong, I was afraid. But it was important for me how I responded in the moment. I had a choice to respond to the fear or respond to my faith.
Well, we had gone on our family vacation in August and to the beach, got the pictures back, and I was gray. That's not a good sign. So I called the office and told them, and Kamilia told me to come in. I was 39 years old. She did a mammogram, and she found it in the duct. It's DCIS in situ, was what I had. And it was 100 times smaller than a grain of salt.
You know, I like to think of, like cancer as, you're driving up the road one day and everything's all familiar. The roads are familiar, the signs are familiar, you're going to work, you don't have to think what exit to take. Everything is routine. You're doing the same thing every day. And all of a sudden these ladies get a phone call, or if they're lucky, get an in-person appointment where they're told they have breast cancer, and everything no longer looks familiar. The road you were traveling on is different. The people that you're encountering look at you different. Nothing is the same for you from that point forward. And I think a lot of times that we forget just how scary it is for that woman to get that phone call.
So it's very helpful for women to explain to them what we see on their mammogram. And also they feel much more comfortable at what we do, what we say when we examine their breasts. If they're dense, we do whole breast ultrasound screening. And if there's something there, if they're on their return trip, for instance, at some time, we show those images to them again.
KCBC has taken a different approach with the methodology of keeping the patient as the center and really the grounding point of what we're doing imaging wise. Not only do we want to be empathetic with them if they are diagnosed with breast cancer, but we want to be informative and educational with them. be supportive of them, and here we're able to do that.
Any woman walking through the door is full of anxiety because every woman thinks they might have breast cancer. And so it's helpful to have staff that are very patient-focused and try to make the patient relax.
KCBC, you walk in, it doesn't feel aesthetic. It doesn't feel like, hey, I'm just here to see, my doctor and, let's get this over with. Let's hurry up and get out of here. Like what, like this is miserable. I think when you walk into KCBC, it's a warmth that you feel, an atmosphere that's conducive to positive psychological outcomes for patients who have to be here.
You have to start with Dr. K and her empathy and her knowledge. She is brilliant, and she's not going to let a woman suffer if she can stop it. And she's dedicated her whole life to that.
The knowledge that's here, my goodness, the cutting edge technology, that team mentality that they have with all of the physicians that goes into treating a breast cancer patient, you don't get that anywhere else. You just don't.
Every woman, I hope, that leaves the office feels reassured when they walk out. They feel happy, they're smiling.
Get confident answers you can trust. To learn more about Knoxville Comprehensive Breast Center, visit knoxvillebreastcenter.com.